the first question, a sort of nice warm-up question. I'd love to hear from you, from each of you, about a woman who has inspired you. So maybe if I go in reverse order to the one that Ravinda did. So Zara, can I ask you that question first? Talk about a woman who has inspired you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Karen, and thank you, Ravinda, for the wonderful introduction, for Religions for Peace, for the invitation today. So I think I'd have to start with my mother. She has definitely been such an inspiration to me, and she's facilitated and trusted me with, I guess, a lot, and given me this confidence that I have. So a little bit about her: she's quite a feisty lady, and she's definitely stubborn, but she's so she's very, and she's not to be told, you know, she's been very independent. You know, she was married at quite a young age, but she was always very committed to showing me like the best example of, I guess, a confident, independent woman. And she invested a lot of time and showing me, you know, be open-minded, you know, feeding our neighbors, and always having that sense that, you know, we're here to serve everybody. And she had always these aspirations of becoming a fashion designer or a lawyer, and, you know, and I think she always hoped that, you know, she said to me, don't compare yourself to others, be your own benchmark of success, and, you know, aim for the top. She goes, you better be the best. You know, so you better get out there and do something great, you know. And she'd always encourage me that actually there wasn't really a limitation on what I could do, but so long as whatever I did, I was committed to doing fully. And I think, you know, for someone, and you know, and we always say to her, she's so stubborn and she won't budge once she's made her mind up on something. And then I realized that I probably have that same quality, which is which we always say we don't want to be like our parents, but, you know, we're always like, so, you know, sometimes I'm pretty like, this is what I want to do, and I'm confident, and they're like, oh mom, you're just so stubborn, and, you know, have you looked at yourself? And the other quality that I think is really important is she's always been a very humbling force. So when I was elected as the president of FOSIS, she goes, well, I don't care what you're the president of, you're going to clean your room. You're going to sort it. So, you know, so it's that idea that, you know, I think having that support network is so important, and having a good female role model is so important, but especially to pull you up, but also to make sure you're humble as well, that no matter how high up you get, you're always grounded and reminded of the people that matter most. And I think COVID really highlighted that, because we could see each other so much, and you're just like, oh my God, I just really miss my mom. So I would say that that's probably my inspirational person, and, you know, I'm very, very lucky to have her.
That's lovely, Zara. Yes, I'm sure there are a number of us who resonate with those things that you've said. So I really appreciate what you're saying. And yeah, there's a great thing of looking in the mirror, isn't there? Umutesi, can I ask you the same question? So tell us about a woman who's inspired you.
Yes, thank you. First of all, I will thank you, all of you, for the opportunity you gave to me to share a little bit about me. And about that question is a little bit hard for me, because I would say that to point of one woman who inspired me sometimes is very difficult, because I didn't get a chance to have my parents when I was younger. So my childhood, I passed in front of many women and men. So it's hard to say this one, but I would say that my childhood, like 5 years, I was in a jungle. So in that jungle, I saw many women who was struggling, trying to help their families, kids in a very difficult situation. So every single day I was suffering, and it was really hard. But I saw many women who sacrificed their lives for their child. So that woman inspired me really. And I would say that during that time, I was 12 years old, and I had to be a mother and a father as well, because my mother, after murdered my two young sisters and my brother who passed away after, I had to be responsible to help them. So I learned a lot from those women to see what I can do, because I had 6 months old that my mom left. So that's my inspiration. But these days now, I can say that I get opportunity to read some books, to see many women, to see the movies and the shows. So I can say that there are many women that even you in front of me, since I came here in Scotland, I learned a lot from different women. So yeah, I would say that there are many lessons that I learned from different women. So I can't point this one.
Okay, that's all right. That's fine.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I think I imagine few of us in the room tonight can sort of imagine some of your experiences, but I think it's lovely. The fact is that you know, at the core of that is still this essential, you know, women looking after their families, looking after their communities, which is common to all of us, you know, despite, you know, very, very, very different circumstances. So thank you for highlighting that, and the fact that you're still learning from everybody. So that's lovely. Thank you. Okay, Isabel, could I ask you the same question then?
Yes, please? Of course. Hello, everyone, and thank you. Thank you for this invitation. I think Ravinder will not be surprised at my choice of an inspirational woman. And Ravinder's family would have known this woman. Her name is Stella Rike, and she is really the pioneer of interfaith work in Scotland. And I love to tell her story, and I do it in any kind of interfaith moment that I can. And Stella, she has died. I mean, she has been dead for maybe about 30 years, Ravinder, I would think. But Stella, as a young woman, worked with the Red Cross, and she was actually at the liberation of Belsen. And so she herself had first-hand knowledge of what it was like when one group of people hated another and were, you know, determined to kill them. She never spoke about that experience because it was so deep, really, and so painful for her. But after she had worked really in Poland, and she worked with youngsters, young children in Poland, she then went to work with the Church of Scotland in Sialkot in Pakistan. And she again worked with young children. And in Pakistan, she learned Urdu. And I believe that she spoke it very badly. But when she came back to Scotland and to Glasgow, she became a deaconess in the Church of Scotland. She actually was born in England, but she came back to Glasgow. She became a Church of Scotland deaconess, and she then got a job as a community worker, working with the Asian community in Scotland and in Glasgow. Now, that probably wouldn't happen now. It would be an Asian woman who would work with the Asian community. But it was at a time, probably the late 50s, early 60s, when in fact Glasgow Council had actually gone to India and Pakistan and really asked people to come to Glasgow in order to work there. And so Stella, because she could talk Urdu, I think, became a community worker. And she lived at a place called the International Flat. And in the International Flat, she worked with women, she worked with all different groups, but she began the very first interfaith group in the country called the Glasgow Sharing of Faiths. And that really started me on my journey of interfaith. And I've been involved in interfaith for a long time, but I used to say to people that Stella used to sit on my right shoulder and she whispered in my ear all the time, "Don't give up, don't give up." And so I really feel that a lot of what I have done really has been in the spirit of Stella Rike. And just one more thing before I stop, which shows really the great impact that she had, was when it was the 25th anniversary of her death. We had a dinner, Ravinder, you'll remember this well, and we had a dinner to celebrate it, and 90 people turned up. Now, I think if 90 people turn up 25 minutes after I'm dead, I'll be very lucky. But this was 25 years, remembering what she had done for them. And as I say, her spirit in interfaith lives on in Scotland today. So Stella Rike, and I'm delighted to always to be able to tell her story.
Thank you, Isabel. That's lovely. I think Ravinda, you wanted to add something to that.
Yes, I do. You know, Isabel mentioned Stella. My mother-in-law came here to Glasgow in the sort of late 1950s. And when I joined the family here in the sort of late 70s, she always talked about Miss Riki. Miss Riki, who helped everybody, and she helped all the communities, you know, the immigrant communities who came in the 50s and 60s, and she really loved her. And she always used to say that she was a wonderful, wonderful person. And it was an absolute pleasure and an honor to be at that dinner with you, Isabel, and with everybody else. And don't worry, Isabel is the culprit who got me involved in interfaith work about 30 years ago.
It carries on, doesn't it?
I mean, I'm sure, Isabel, when 25 years after you pass away, there'll be plenty of people.
Well,
I think so.
I'll not be around to know.
Anyway, so I just wanted to add that Stella really started interfaith work here, bringing communities together, and that's what we're still doing right now. So thank you, Stella.
That's lovely. Thank you. Thanks, Ravinda. So the second question, I'd be interested to hear from each of you about how your faith has supported you through the barriers and challenges that you've had to overcome. So particularly thinking about your own faith, whether it's at a personal level or the faith tradition that you're part of, it would be lovely to hear about how that's helped you. So let me, just to, in the interest of fairness, Umutesi, can I ask you to start with that question?
Oh, yes, I was thinking that I would be in the middle then. Just for the, yeah. Well, I would say that when I was born in a Christian family, which is the Anglican Church. My grandfather was the people that they call canon, so as the people in the church that they give the advice to the archbishop or other member of the church. And my grandmother was, they used to call Muchara, means that is like a mother of the community. So they had what called Mothers Union. So they used to teach other women how they can cook, they can bake, how, you know, something like that in the community. So I remember, as I told you, after 12 years, I lost everybody, but I remember a little bit before we escaped the country. My grandfather used to tell us that in God, everything is possible, and the God can make a way where there's no way. So that was always, when I was struggling, helped me a lot. And I think I had strength from that, because I knew that even if we are here, God is watching us. It was a time that was really hard and difficult, which I had a doubt that I think God left us. But then when I saw, because every single day was death, it was rape, it was violence, it was screaming, and there was nobody was helping at all, nobody. And I was watching, you know, the body there. It's long story and the sad story, but what in the summary, what I can say, after all I said, there is a reason why I'm still alive. So there's nobody helped. I don't have a parent. I don't have my friend, no family. I'm here, but I'm still alive. So there is someone somewhere who is watching me, who is protecting us. So that faith from my family pushed me every time to say, God, I know that you're watching us, so please help us. Please give us bread for today. Please help my young sister because I can't do anything without you. So I will say that faith for me has a big impact in my whole entire life. Even if I didn't get enough time to spend with my families and with my friends, as some people know my stories, I lost like 40 people in my family. That's the people I know. But during all that time, during the struggle, during the hunger, during the everything, it was God. So the faith, the luggage that I got from my family during that time when I was a little girl, that helped me a lot during all the struggles, which I believe that faith is very important in all our entire life, because after our suffer or our problems, there is a God that can help in our struggle. Yeah.
Thank you. And again, Umutesi, you talk so movingly, and I think it is, you and your experience at every right to maybe lose some sense of faith, but it sounds like it had made it even stronger.
Yes.
And that sense that God is there. We don't always know. It's not always obvious. We don't always see evidence, but to actually keep, and that's what faith is about. It's about seeing the unknown, isn't it? So thank you very much. Isabel, may I ask you to continue on the same theme?
Yes. Umutesi, thank you for what you say. And to be honest with you, I'm very hesitant to say anything after your contribution. My life just seems, well, no life is easy, so I can't say that it's been easy, but I don't know what I would be like if I had to experience what you experienced, but I've just experienced the ups and downs of life.
Yeah,
and
of
course we cannot live without bereavement and illness and what have you. And so, like yourself, my faith has been important to me. I think that when things have been difficult, it has given me a vision to feel that there is meaning in that, and that that, well, is part of the process of life. And as you know, one of the things about Christianity is that one of its kind of practices is what we might call death and resurrection. You enter into difficult situations, you let them go, you find new life comes. So I found that very helpful. I found the whole vision really of the kingdom of God helpful. That's something that my faith would put before me, that all in our own little ways we can make the world a better place, and we do it bit by bit by embracing the difficult as well as the good. It has taught me to give thanks really for all that has been given to me, to try and do my best really to serve. And it's given me a religious practice really, which has kept me going, prayer, meditation. But also one of the biggest things I think that I've had from my faith is the sense of support, really, that I'm not alone. As you say, Umutesi, yes, the sense really that God is with us, that there is that strength, but also that other people are with us. And I think at one point when we were talking about prayer, Ravindra, if I can just repeat myself about that, one of the things that I always find very helpful is the fact that there is so much prayer going on in the world. Within Christianity, I'm Catholic, and so within the Catholic Church, within monasteries and within convents, people come together 5 times a day to pray, and they pray for the world. And that gives me great hope. It's almost like an energy there that I can use, and that, you know, I can draw on when I find that I am weak. And the same thing happens in mosques, and the same thing happens in gurdwaras, and it happens in synagogues. And I just have this sense really of this energy that is around, that I am part of and related to. But you might know, I mean, as Ravinder introduced me, she introduced my sister, Isabel Smyth. Now that's because I belong to a religious community. I'm a nun, a Catholic nun, you might say. So one of the things that has kept me going has been my community. I live in a community and belong to a community of women who are all inspirational women who have been pioneers in so many ways. And we're not the only community of religious women. There's a lot of them in the Catholic Church, but we're within, if you like, a patriarchal church that could sometimes get you down, and within a patriarchal church that might not be too interested in things like interreligious dialogue. But to know that we have that support amongst ourselves, we pray together, we talk about what's important, we help one another and support one another in our work. And so, Umutesi, when you were talking about all the inspirational women that you know, I was thinking about, I have been privileged to live with so many of them and been strengthened and supported by them. So in that sense, you know, my own faith and also the faith community in which I live is a support to me and helps me find meaning in every day, really. And every day is it's worth getting up and living life to the full. And I'm grateful for that.
Thank you so much, Isabel. It's interesting, as you were talking, there are a number of words that sort of popped up. I had to write them down because otherwise I'd forget. But you talked about meaning, you talked about community, you talked about practice, you talked about prayer. And I imagine, again, everyone in the room, whatever our religious tradition, they're all things that we can relate to, that maybe in some ways help us to maybe it's just about spending time during the day thinking about a sort of slightly deeper meaning. And I think, you know, it'd be interesting to have if there are whatever 31 of us in the room, you know, what for each of us is a definition of faith. But I think those words for me really are universal for all of us, and that's so important for us to, as an interfaith group, to reflect on. So thank you very much. Thank you. So Zara, may I ask you the same question?
Wow, how am I supposed to follow on from those amazing reflections? And I agreed with Isabel. I mean, Umutesi, how can we compare? But thank you for sharing some really powerful reflections from, I guess, a different kind of struggle than one that we can possibly imagine, and absolutely, you know, just amazing how you still push through. And I think it's that resilience that faith gives us, which is what I would like to reflect on, particularly I think during the pandemic. And we've had a couple of really big I guess quite a few of us had some really big celebrations, but for us, Ramadan at home. So, you know, Islam is a very social religion, and a lot of our kind of big ritual acts are very social. So Ramadan, so although, you know, we do pray at home and other things, Ramadan is like that big time of the year where everybody is, you know, we're having meals together, we're going around to neighbors, friends, family, and we're going to the mosque together as well. And so for us, it was quite a culture shock. We didn't really know what to do with Ramadan at home, and mosque being closed and this virus everywhere. And I think, you know, for myself, pre-pandemic, I was always on the move, always traveling, and I think living very not fast lane, but, you know, we're always, life is just moving and you're just moving with it, and you're not really taking that time. Although our faiths all encourage us to contemplate and reflect and to slow down, we get caught in it. And I think pre-pandemic, it was a sense that you're really in control and you're just moving along, and this is what life demanded. And then you had this kind of, well, actually, no, so we're not going to do that anymore. And everything stopped. And I think that was a really powerful moment from just a personal point of view, which is to reflect on, well, how have I actually been living my life? And where am I at in my connection to my creator, and my connection to family, and the things that I actually really cherish, but not the things that I spend my time, with, you know, because we're busy moving and doing other things. So I think Ramadan at home was a really great time because it's a month in which we're supposed to really reflect, you know, we'll give extra in charity. And we had to think about creative ways of giving because, you know, charity is such an important part of all of our faiths. And I think, you know, Ramadan, it's like the time where Muslims are the most generous, you know, we're the biggest time when we donate or globally and, you know, millions of pounds. And so, but, you know, we can't speak to our neighbor, we can't go visit our family, we can't go to the mosque. So what are we, you know, and that's when faith really pushes you to show that resilience. Well, actually, I can still pick up the phone. We can have virtual, you know, iftars and meetings, and also I can still take care of my neighbor. Maybe I'll order them some food and, you know, finding, and I think that's what was brilliant. And I honestly think that faith communities were like a fourth essential service during this pandemic because we thought the people hungry, we got to get them some food. You know, we saw with the refugees that were the hotels and all that stuff that was going on. And people were like, okay, let's see what we can give. What can we do to support? And I think, I mean, Scotland, we were all biased here, but Scotland has been definitely brilliant in that. Glasgow, even recently, and it was on the day of Eid that the refugee situation happened, quite local to me as well. And you could just see people in their best, you know, protesting on the streets saying, you know, we're not going to have that. So I think faith for me has inspired a new sense of resilience, a creativity, and thinking that just because the situation is not what I'm used to, I'm not in control, doesn't mean I don't have a responsibility to give, to share, and to also think about how I can be better. And obviously, you know, being in the Secretary General and all the different influence and power I have, one thing that we did this Ramadan was to say thank you to, you know, our frontline workers who we forget, you know, will have been fasting, will have also suffered bereavement and loss, will have been, you know, going through all the things that we're going through, but actually on the front line, you know, and some of the first people to pass away were actually Muslim doctors and doctors from ethnic minority backgrounds and, you know, nurses, and you just think their families, you know, what they've sacrificed for us during this time has been phenomenal. And I know we had an interfaith iftar, and I know all faith communities here have given hundreds of thousands of meals all over the UK. And I think for me, that's something to be proud of. So I think faith has inspired a sense of resilience and hope, and also shown us that we can still do great things even under tough circumstances. So that's my reflection.
Thank you, Zara. I think one of the things that strikes me, it would be interesting if we'd had the conversation 18 months ago. You know, maybe some different words would have come out, maybe not, but I think
we would have been a little bit I don't know if that optimism would have been there the same way.
But no, but I love it. And I think what you're sort of embodying really is this sense of, you know, it's helped me, you know, you can either go deeper and deeper and darker, or you can, you know, raise yourself towards the light, and that definitely came through. I think if the others wouldn't mind for a moment, I just want to have a sort of question I'd really curious to ask Zara. I'm sure a lot of us in the room, because you've sort of really been a pioneer, groundbreaker with getting your position, and we're talking a bit about challenges, how your faith's helped you to overcome. Are there any particular challenges that you could, you know, be interesting for you to just sort of reflect on in terms of achieving that position?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, definitely. I think being the first of any kind, especially being the first woman and youngest person. I mean, I think I find that the biggest challenge is always yourself and the kind of, you know, imposter syndrome and self-doubt and all that stuff that comes with that. So I think certainly I had to kind of get a bit of confidence to just believe in myself that I could do it. And then I had to kind of really well, I mean, because you got to believe in yourself. If you don't believe in yourself, no one else is going to believe in you. And then I think there was a lot of kind of challenges about, you know, being a young person, are they going to take me seriously, you know? And also, I mean, I think, you know, being a young woman as well. So I think there was always this kind of, oh, but I was so grateful that actually I got so much encouragement and support. People had seen my work and they saw that I had an energy and something different. And I think that it was the right direction of where the future is at and what kind of organization we want to build. But I certainly think that, you know, just as a young person, you're always kind of thinking, well, you know, because there is always that dynamic of like, do people respect younger people in these roles? And there's not that many of us, and being a young female, and obviously the media was quite challenging at the start, and I think there was quite a lot. So I think it takes a lot of grit, it takes a lot of self-belief, and it takes a really important support network in big and small ways. And I can't thank enough just the small messages of support people gave me to say, you better go for it, as well as the, okay, now you're in, how can we help you? And I think that's what we really need. We need communities of people that are willing to cheer you on and offer you ways of doing things, because I had so many different kinds of people reach out and say, Zara, how can we help? And for me, it's always having a clear goal in mind as to what do I want to change, what do I want to achieve? Because often when you get in the role, it's like, it goes by so quickly and then you forget what it was you started off in the first place. So for me, it's about engaging, building partnerships, but, you know, taking as many people as I can with me, but also showing that we can all really work together and show the strength in faith in action. But if you're a person who doesn't have any faith, that doesn't mean we can't work with you. We're still all here to serve all of humanity. So I've been hugely honored and humbled. And I think the biggest problem is always the one looking at yourself in the mirror, because you got to get through that psyche that you can do it. But certainly, look, there's always societal challenges. There's always all the usual structural and all the rest of it. But I think the little bit of Scottish power in me that found a way through and was not to be pushed back in that regard. So yeah, I mean, brave. You got to be a bit brave as well. I'll just add on a final note.
That's lovely, Zara. You're actually starting to touch on the third question that I do want to ask. So I will come back to you again. Okay. Just maybe if I can go to Isabel and just talk a little bit about our last question, which was really, what advice would you have for other women about how to keep going, really around, you know, when you want to go and challenge injustice, when you see it, what's your advice to women to kind of keep driving forward and feeling confident and brave to challenge injustice?
Well, it's very interesting. When I did have a little thought about this question and came up with some good advice, I think Zara has listened to it. She's living out the advice that I would give. But I think I would say to believe in yourself, to really do believe in yourself and in your abilities to make a difference. Might not be a big difference. You know, I love, Karen, in the Jewish tradition, there is that belief in tikkun olam, that we can all make a difference step by step and we can do something. If I can tell a wee story, and this story is about St. Francis, who's a Christian saint. And when he was dying, he said to the brothers round about him, I have done what is mine to do, and I pray that you find what is yours to do. And I think we all have something to do in the world, and to find what that is and to do it with confidence, I would say is important. Part of it, and Zara has mentioned this, is to embrace life, but also to think of, well, I think anyway, of life as a journey, but it's not just a journey out there, it's a journey inward as well. So being brave enough to get to know ourselves, to face up even to the struggles within us, even to be aware of the energy. Is it good energy that we're putting out there into the world, or, you know, or not? And the other thing that I think is vital, because it has been absolutely vital to me, don't do it on your own. We women need the support of one another. It's absolutely vital. And that if you are working with other people, they sometimes are up when you're down, you know, and you can really support and help one another and share a vision. And so that would be my thing, you know. Be yourself, find out what is yours to do. Do not be afraid to really explore your own inner self, which I think helps you make a greater contribution to the world, and do it with others, especially women.
That's fantastic advice, Isabel. Thank you. Yes, and I totally agree. I think it's taken me until quite recently to work out that point about, you know, actually we make our own unique contribution, and we probably do that best of all. So yes. So I think it's great advice, and you know, being yourself. And I love the St. Francis story. That's a lovely thought. So if I can hand over to Umutesi, please, if you tell me what you do, is your advice to other people on how to continue to sort of challenge injustice when they see it.
God, I have many advice. So, right. I mean, from my experience, I would say that if we stand together, we can. So, I will give you an example. When I came here in Scotland, I couldn't speak English. I couldn't understand anybody, but I came and I met many people, especially interfaith. I really appreciate the interfaith people, not because my husband is one who works with them, but as amazing people. I met many women there, in different faith. I met Hindus, I met Muslim, I met Baha'i, I met many faith and interfaith, as I said. They teach me many things. Before I go to the advice, I saw how just a small thing can change people's lives. Just small things, even smile. When I come, I get the courage to speak. I was like feeling, oh, what can I do in this country? How can I live? How can I survive in a country that I can speak and communicate with people? But every time, every single day, the people I met in the interfaith, they say, yes, you can. Yes, you can. Don't worry, we are here to help you. Don't worry, you can. So that courage showed me that I'm not alone, and there is people around and surround me who can help. And those smaller community here in Scotland or other countries that people meet and made something different, like baking, like making different things, is just people think that is small, but it's not small. It can change. These things you're doing now, you can not see the fruits today, but what I tell you, believe me, you change many people's lives. Not direct, maybe indirectly, people will not tell you, but I will tell you from my experience, because I learned a lot. And to be me now is because of you, is because of people like you. So the advice now I can give to people, as I told you from my experience, I was like a broken heart, sad girl, no hope, but I met people who rebuilt me and reconstruct me, and that makes me who I am today. I'm a happy mom. I have my daughters. I have my husband. I have my family. And the hope that I lost long time ago now, I will tell you that I am a happy woman now because of the people, because of the women that I met, because of the men faith that, because when I came here, I didn't have any idea about other faith. You know, in Africa, in Rwanda, where I'm from, there are many Christian, we have a Muslim, but you will see that every faith walk itself. You know, they don't involve the other people, you know, to do anything. But with interfaith, you will meet everybody, everyone, and you will learn and understand why Muslim are different from Protestant, what I can learn from Muslim people. Because when I come, for example, I've never been in a mosque, I've never been in as a temple, something like that. But I got opportunity to go everywhere, and I learned a lot, and I appreciate that, because sometimes we judge because we don't know. But once you meet people, you understand and you learn a lot. And I appreciate everything about interfaith. So after that, the advice I would give to all the women all over the world, first of all, is to break the chain of silence, ignorance, and prejudice. All of us together we can. If you see something wrong on your neighbor or your friend or anybody you meet on the road, don't think first who you are. No, because I'm Protestant, I can't help the Muslim or Hindu or whatever. Just stand and help everybody as human being. Love is important things, because when I was struggling, it's not only Protestant who came to help me. It's not Rwandese who helped me. I was in another country. I met people and they were very poor, but because of the passion and the love they had in them, because of the beliefs that God is love, they helped us. They gave us just small things to survive, even if they was poor. So that is very important. So everybody, if we stand up and use our platform or our small opportunities, we can change the world. We need to use our voice to be the voice of voiceless. So that's I can say. Thank you.
That's lovely. Thank you. I like that. Use our voices for the voiceless. That's wonderful. I think breaking the silence. And I think that interesting again, there were some lovely similarities between what you were saying, Umutesi, and Isabel around doing things together. Mm-hmm. Doing it, don't feel you're alone in doing these things, but doing things together and not being afraid. And yes. I love the way you're talking about the warmth of the way you were brought into the community within Scotland, and it's wonderful to hear that. Really lovely. So, and some lovely advice there as well. So thank you. So Zara, anything else? Any other particular advice? I mean, particularly this area of kind of where you see injustice. You know, what's your recommendation or advice to other women?
Yeah, I think, it's a really challenging time for so many of us, for lots of different reasons, whether it's about, race or faith or economics or social mobility. We just we just remembered the anniversary of George Floyd and just how that sent shockwaves all over the world, and, what that really meant for so many communities. And I think a lot of young people really are just I think we've all really had enough, really. And we're looking now to see some real change and not just the lip service. So I think certainly in terms of injustice, I think it's so important for us to remember our voice is really powerful, and our presence, whatever that is, you don't need to be head of an organization to make a change, and certainly George Floyd showed us that he inspired a change in all of us, because that change has to come from within. And I think that's what faith teaches us, is that, but you point the finger at someone else and there's 4 pointing back at you. So we really have to consider, what are we doing to instigate the change that we want to see in reforming the society as we want it? And I said to a lot of people in my organization, I said, well, we're making decisions that impact the future. Shouldn't we have the future at the decision-making table? And certainly, and I think that's what it is. It's like, continue to make that partnership. We're really building a future where we're all included and where all of our voices do count. And I think appreciating that until we acknowledge our own role in that, it's difficult for things to change. And, like simple things like, everybody recycling, after that wasn't really seen as something important. Now we realize, oh my God, there's so much plastic around us. How are we going to sort this out? And with COVID as well, I think people are going to struggle coming back to normal or whatever it is, but one thing that we've said is that normal can't be what it was before, when we had all of this economic disparity. The poorest and the richest did not have the same experience. So I think we've got to lead by example. We've got to be ambassadors for change. We've got to realize that our voice is really powerful. Nowadays, anybody can say, you can really make a change because the world is so connected. But foremost is that, I think, never losing that hope and faith that actually, we're not here to fix all of it. And as Isabel said, we've got to take people with us. And I think that's certainly true, isn't it? Which it's not, and that gives me a bit of reassurance, Isabel, that I don't need to fix it all. I just got to do my bit, and that's it. But sometimes people do make you feel like you've got to fix the world's problems, and you got to do it within 24 hours. Otherwise, it's all over. So I think certainly just reminding yourself to pace yourself. And I think one thing that's been really important that I've learned is well-being, especially I think during the pandemic, like that daily walk became such a lifeline, just to go out and breathe and, get out the house. And I think well-being has to be something we put into all of our work, whether it's, professional, organizational, or voluntary. And I think COVID really showed that we have to take care of ourselves, because I know that as soon as we were working from home, it was back to back again. So I think there's got to be now, I said it in one of my articles, a well-being economy, this idea that we've got to value the price of taking care of ourselves, because I feel like it's the biggest thing. I'm the biggest culprit, so I'll put my hand up first. I'm the worst for it. People are like, you taking a break? Yeah, I'm taking a break as I join another Zoom meeting. So, I'm sure I'll welcome all advice in that regard.
So there's something about leading by example there, is there?
Yeah, that's what I mean. I've got plenty to say, but I really do need to take my own advice. And it's the nature of the beast, isn't it? You get caught up in it. But I think, being in spaces like this one and hearing people's stories, and Umutesi, what you've said today has just been mind-blowing, I think, for all of us. And you're just smiling away. So, it's definitely comforting to know that at the end of it, you can keep smiling no matter what's going on.
Yeah, yes, definitely. Well, those were the formal questions that we put together. There are a couple of questions I've noticed that have come up. So if I can, so this question from Laura was, I think specifically probably to you, Zara, a very, very, I think, very interesting challenge, particularly following the release of the Islamophobia report. Is the one thing that non-Muslims can do to help? What do you think that would be? I mean, maybe there's a view from each of our panelists on that.
Yeah, sure, definitely. I mean, I think there's been a couple of reports, obviously, Islamophobia, but we also had the Seoul report as well. And, there's lots going on. I think the question's really broadly about partnership. I think it's a mutually beneficial thing here. So it's not just non-Muslims, but Muslims and all faith communities and none, which is how can we work better together? And I think we've got to continue to be allies for change. And, no matter what the cause is, or if there's an injustice, or if there's some suffering and there's a little bit of good we can do towards that. I think, unfortunately, there's a lot of stigmatization perpetuated and a lot of othering and a lot of, I faced it in my election as well, which was, but how can you be elected to this role? You're this, how are the, and there was a lot of like, can Muslim women lead? Are you allowed? What, and it's kind of like, okay, what decade are we in? What country am I in? Like, what's going on? So it was a lot of stereotypes about us without us, and I just think that the best thing you can do is if you're unsure, learn a little, ask questions, build friendships, and where there are things that you see that are wrong, call them out and challenge them. I shared a really short story. I was on a bus and I could see that, I'd just gotten on the bus and there was kind of a man that I think there were two refugees. They're sitting in the back. They're just quietly minding their own business. And there was a gentleman who was just he was being really horrible, and he was kind of provoking them. He wasn't being very nice. And I just sat there and I thought, I can't hold it. I'm sorry, mom. And I said, I turned around and I said to the two gentlemen at the back, I said, "Are you okay?" And they looked kind of frightened. And then the man immediately said, I'm not racist. I'm not racist. I said, I never said you were racist. I'm just asking if they're okay. And he got so taken aback that he was being challenged. And then, he kind of stormed off. They left and then he stormed off. But before he stormed off, he turned to me and he said, "You're not nice. You think I'm racist. I didn't do anything wrong or whatever." And I was just like, well, whatever, And the point was that, and once they left, the other members of the bus said, "Oh, we don't think he was racist. I think he was just causing trouble." And I was just kind of, well, like, look, you made your choice. You didn't want to say anything. Unfortunately, I couldn't stand for that. And my mom was like, "Oh my God, are you crazy? What are you doing picking a fight?" But for me, it was like, I know if I was them in that bus, I would want someone to say, "That's not right. And you don't represent us as a community. So stop." And I know it was a bit of I'm not encouraging everybody to be vigilantes, but I think we all have to make those choices as to what is acceptable in our society and what is not. And if we think that things are wrong, we should speak out. And whatever that looks like, I'm not saying that everybody can do that in the same way, whether it's writing a letter to your MP, whether it's having a nice conversation, helping someone learn, whether it's a training, whatever it is. But if we allow people to get away with things, then we're just all, in my opinion, I think we're complicit. And I do think that maybe, and I understand, I don't want to make any judgments about people, but we can't stand for intolerance. So, you know, and I think it was the only thing that allows evil to exist is, you know, the absence of someone, you know, the absence of our voices, the absence of justice. So we have to speak up. We have to say to people, you know, who we are and what we represent. So that would be my advice, I think, to be an ally for all of us and stand out, you know, when things are wrong.
And I think what's very interesting in what you're saying, the approach that you took, was your focus was on the two guys who were being victimized. Rather, I think a lot of us would be kind of wary, you know, if there's some guy behaving badly, maybe we don't want to take him on. But you actually, your focus was on the two guys, you know, how they felt. And I think that's a really, you know, very nice lesson in that. But I think it is, I mean, we probably all would like to believe that we will call it. But, you know, we're also worried that, you know, the perpetrators are not often the nicest people. So
so that's what I'm saying. There's no judgment on anybody else, but in that situation,
I thought it was a useful way to have taken that situation on. Any comments from either of our other panelists about what we can all be doing to, if you like, support our Muslim sisters and brothers and make, you know, try and reduce the kind of Islamophobia that we're seeing in and around our society?
Can I just expand that? I think it's supporting everyone, all communities who are facing difficulties, you know. Anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, and other communities who are facing that, because I think, as Zara said, we have to see how we can sort of stand up when there is injustice happening, no matter whether it's here or whether it's around the world. So, and also, Karen, can I just say that I think Lakshmi wants to ask a question as well. So if we can go to her after the panelists have said. And I know, Zara, you've only got another, 5, 8 minutes?
I can stay for about 10 minutes, so that's okay. I'll push it a little bit,
That's fine, thank you. So if the other panelists would like to answer that question, how can we stop the injustice? How can we work together to stop injustice?
Well, I think what Zara said, of course, is true, but I think also education is important, you know, because so often we categorize people as a Muslim, the Muslims, the Jews, the whoever. But once you know Karen, who is Jewish, and Zara, who is Muslim, Ravinder, who is Sikh, Umutesi, who comes from Rwanda, suddenly your whole vision really changes. And I know there are some people who are very prejudiced, and I grew up, of course, in a sectarian situation, and I think I'd want to say that has changed. Although we keep saying that Glasgow and Scotland is quite sectarian, it's not as it was, because now we're much more known and we're much more part of the community. So I'd want to say it can change, you know, and please God, it will change. But there is something about education and about knowing one another as human beings and as people, and feeling one another's, being able to stand in one another's shoes, so that when we do hear racist remarks or Islamic phobic or anti-Semitic remarks, you feel the pain of it, really, you know, and you therefore can kind of say something, because sometimes, you know, it's very hard to know what to say, isn't it? You know, and sometimes, you know, and you, as you say, Karen, you can spend your time thinking, what will I say, how will I say it, and what have you, and then the moment goes. But something about it, you know, we need to know one another as people, and we need to be honest about what it feels like us to be citizens in our country together today. Hear one another's stories, I think. you know, it helps me, I think, recognize then the pain in all of this.
Okay, thank you, thank you, Isabel. It's very true what you're saying. Yeah, I think feeling other people's pain and understanding how that might feel if you were on the receiving end is a very good point. Umutesi, anything else you would like to add?
I think what she said, what Isabel said, I agree with her, because education is a very important for everybody, because once you know and understand, you will not judge in the way you want. People judge because sometimes in negative way, because they don't understand what's going on. So before judgment, I think education is very important. But what I will add on that, the truth need to be clear, because when you see all the time behind every trouble, there's a non-untold story, because people have their own interest in things, and then they make things worse and they don't tell the truth. People need to know the truth, and that truth will start from our homes, our house. The first education is from us, the parents, what you teach your kids. If you teach your kids love, if you teach your kids to love everybody without telling that this is from this country, this is a Muslim, this is a Catholic, teach your kids to love everybody. So education is very important, but also the truth, because I think when you see nobody born as racist, nobody born with the hate, what we teach our kids, what our kids learn from us and our neighbor and our friend, that's they spread on the world. So yeah, that's I can say. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. I think what we teach our children is a very important thing that we take away. Zara, before you shoot off, hopefully to something nice and well-being oriented, and any last comments that you would like to make?
No, just thank you all so much. It's been an amazing conversation, and I think such a nice time to reflect actually and just think about where we're at in our journey. I think as we move forward, hopefully coming out of this pandemic, but I think certainly we do have to continue to work together to build a society that really reflects what we want in the future, you know, as we are and as we wish to be. I think certainly there's going to be continue to be challenges for all of us and for all of our communities. And I think the best thing about it is how faith communities have really pioneered so much social change. You know, from the church doing a housing commission, you know, Sikh community, I don't know how many people you fed. There should be a counter because there's so many. And there was Eid parcels of food that you guys were giving as well. And, you know, I just think there's just so many wonderful initiatives from all faith traditions. And I think we haven't left anybody. I know even Jewish community were providing support for education, and I think laptops for young people as well. So we had this wonderful interfaith iftar, and there was so many initiatives, and you're just blown away thinking about, wow, you know, although we talk a lot about organized, you know, people in structures, there's a lot of just everyday people offering support and help, and that I feel is the main thing, which is that, you know, you don't need to champion change by being someone in an official position. You could just do it by being a nice person. And I think that's all we really need, is just a lot more people realizing that, you know, people are going through tough times, so just be a little bit kinder, especially in the work environment, because I know behind the screen there's so much else going on. So that's everything from me. I know, Ravinda, you want to take a picture right before I shoot off, but my thanks to everyone. It's been wonderful to be amongst you all.
Thank you, Zara.
Zara, thank you so much. I mean, you are an inspiration to all young people, to all of us. And I think, as you say, that we really do, all women have to work together in order to affect change, which is going to be long lasting in society. And I think it does start from us. We can change our, as Umutesi says, our children as they grow up, our husbands, our brothers and sisters, our brothers and cousins, etc. So the more we can work together, and this is what the network is about, the Women of Faith Network, is also to get our voices heard at the religious leaders level, because most religious leaders are men. So our voices together are going to be extremely powerful, and what we can together will affect change. And hopefully the wisdom that we all have within our scriptures will be able to be sort of disseminated through society as well.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye, Zara.
Bye, Zara. Lovely to meet you.
Thank you so much, everyone.